Tuff, Toryn. One day, Billy, Murdoch, and Edward were at the docks when the Fat Controller arrived and said this to the three engines. Billy, I want you to take care of the docks while Toryn just does his work, and Murdoch and Edward, your job is to take some trucks to the quarry. Yes, sir, they both said, and the Fat Controller walked away. Please keep an eye on me, boastful Billy, said Toryn just. Billy did not like being called boastful Billy. Very well, Tuff, Toryn, said Billy, and Billy puffed away. Toryn just wasn't very happy about it. Grrr, he growled, and then he was plotting to prove Billy wrong. When Murdoch and Edward left with their goods train to take to the quarry, Billy was still taking good care of the docks and keeping an eye on Toryn just. And all what Billy has left was the emergency truck. It has a ladder and a lamp when there's emergencies. Billy had a bigger plan. Hey, Tuff, Toryn, he said, I hope you don't mind if you lift this truck up. Sure, said Toryn just. Is there a reason why, boastful Billy? Because, Billy continued loftily, I want to see how strong you are, right? All right, said Toryn just, and then he was ready. And with that, Toryn just was still lifting the emergency truck. He lifted and lifted the truck. He was way too strong. And with that, Billy had never seen Toryn just lift the most heaviest truck in all his life and before. Billy was amazed. He's still strong, said Billy, but how? He had an idea, but it had to be quick. What did you think of this, boastful Billy? Said Toryn just. I'm very strong. Not yet, you're not, said Billy. I'll go get something else. And with that, Billy was off straight away. And then Toryn just waited. Meanwhile, Billy hurried along the line. On the way, he met Murdoch. Hey, Murdoch, he said. How are you today? I'm still all right, said Murdoch. You've still seen me this morning. I still remember that, said Billy. Hey, can I take the stone truck with you? Can I take the stone truck for a while? Sure, said Murdoch. We'll swap. And with that, Billy and Murdoch both had a deal indeed. Billy was coupled to the stone truck, and he set off. Thank you, Murdoch. You're welcome, said Murdoch. Then Billy came back to the docks. Toryn just was ready. I'm ready when you are. The stone truck was heavy, but Toryn just managed nicely. And then he did. He was very careful and very cautious. Then Toryn just was very, very, very strong. And he was. Billy was very surprised. "You're still strong," he said. "I'm very impressed." "I am boastful, Billy. What else do you want to show me?" "Wait here." And then Toryn just did. Billy puffed away. Later, Billy was racing down the hill. On his way, he met Edward. "Hey, Edward," he said, "can I borrow that slate truck of yours?" "Sure," said Edward, and then Edward was ready. Edward was uncoupled, and Billy was coupled. "Thank you, Edward." "You're welcome," said Edward, and Billy was ready. He came back to the docks. Billy had already shunted the slate truck on Toryn Just's hook, and Toryn Just was ready. He lifted the slate truck. The slate truck was too heavy, but Toryn Just managed. And then the slate truck was fully heavy, and Toryn Just was still strong. "How do you like it, boastful Billy?" "And you're tough, Toryn," said Billy. What about lifting me? How would that feel?" Toryn Just was ready. He thought, "All right, I'll lift you up now." Toryn Just and Billy were ready at last, and they were. Then Toryn Just continued lifting. Billy was too heavy, but Toryn Just was still managing. And then Billy went all this way, high up in the sky. Toryn Just couldn't stand Billy being too heavier than him. Toryn Just tried to pull, but Billy was too heavy. "My chains are aching," moaned Toryn Just. "Continue then," said Billy. But Toryn Just couldn't. Billy was too heavy. Billy was too heavy, and Toryn Just's chains were aching. With a crackle and a creak, Toryn Just began to crumble. His crane arm broke. And Billy was derailed. Toryn Just's crane arm broke, and Billy was derailed. His paint was dinted, and Toryn Just's arm was broken. And the Fat Controller was very cross. "Billy, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have caused confusion and delay. You have caused confusion and delay. Edward's slate truck is still not at the quarry, and so isn't Murdoch's stone truck, and your emergency truck is still not at the search and rescue centre. You are a very silly engine." "Yes, sir, I'm sorry, sir," said Billy, and he spoke to Toryn Just. "You are even silly as Billy. You will have to be fixed later." "I'm sorry, sir," said Toryn Just. "I'm even sillier as a steamy now." When Donald arrived, he looked very amused. "Bad luck, Billy," He said, little engines can get into trouble sometimes. But Billy ignored Donald. Donald, he said, can you take those trucks back to work for me? There's something I must do right now. Toryn Just is broken, and you have to take those trucks back to the quarry for me. Can you do that, please, at once? Sure, said Donald, and with that, Donald took the trucks away. And with that, Billy was back on the rails, and Toryn Just was fixed. Hey, Billy, said Toryn, you're not boastful Billy anymore. And you're not tough, Toryn, said Billy, and with that, the two of them laughed for real.